Leadership is hard work. Leadership is heart work. In today's episode, we're going to explore that, and we're going to learn from a special guest that understands what that's all about.
At InitiativeOne, we're igniting a leadership revolution by helping organizations eliminate the drama, improve decision-making, and win as a team. Join Dr. Fred Johnson on the Leadership Initiative Podcast as we uncover insights to maximize your impact and transform your life.
In today's episode, we have Dr. Margaret Gilmore. What a great opportunity to welcome her to the InitiativeOne podcast. Margaret, welcome. And can you just give us a little background about yourself?
Okay. I am Margaret Gilmore, and I've been in education for about 41 years, have enjoyed the journey. I have worked from a teacher to working at the district office, working as a co-principal, working for the State Department, working as a superintendent, and now working for InitiativeOne as Deputy Vice President of Educational Leadership, and have just really enjoyed this process and working with leaders across the country.
Margaret, I've gotten to know you over the past year and a half or so, and it's just been an honor of mine to be able to work with you, get to know you because of who you are as a person. And I think that plays into who you are as a leader and why you've had success throughout your career. I know you mentioned you had 41 years of experience, and I wasn't sure that people could actually start at the age of 4 in education. Good to see you came through and finished that.
Thank you, Bill.
So you've been around leadership for a long time. What's changed, like in the last 5 years? What are the main things that have changed that you've seen?
Yeah. One of the things that I feel like have changed is I think leaders are understanding more about data-driven decision making and using data to inform instructional practices and even to inform policies. And I think leaders are really leveraging data to really identify those areas of improvement and tracking student progress. At one point, we were just making decisions, by the seat of our pants and not making informed decisions. But I think leaders are really being intentional about making data-driven informed decisions. I think another thing is this collaborative leadership that I see more and more. What leaders have finally understood is that you can't lead in isolation. You just cannot lead alone. And I see more and more superintendents and district office leadership cabinet working with leadership teams and trying to collaborate and make decisions and solve problems, because what we've understood within the last 5 years is that there are a lot of challenges in education, and you just cannot make these decisions in isolation. And I think another thing that have changed is the integration of technology. The pandemic really accelerated the adoption of technology in education. And I think leaders are now focused on blending in-person and online learning. Because of the teacher shortage, superintendents are now having to hire online teachers to close this gap in education and in the classroom. So I think the integration of technology has changed over the last 5 years. And I think another thing is this social and emotional learning. And I know it's political, but there is a growing recognition of the importance of social and emotional learning and making it a part of the curricular in the school culture, because our students have so many needs, not only just the students, our scholars, but also teachers and leaders in our in the educational arena.
So you were talking a bit about technology. Some people have said all the information a student needs is in the palm of their hand. In other words, in their phone. So
Absolutely.
education has changed a lot that way. So the role of a teacher, the role of an administrator has
Absolutely.
changed. What has been the impact of that?
There are some pros and cons to that, because those cell phones can be very detrimental and hinder a lot of growth because students they're honing in on checking their email and checking their uh, text messages, and it causes a lot of confusion and a lot of distractions in the classroom. And I think a lot of policies are being put in place now for students to leave their cell phones at home or check in at the front office and leave their cell phones so that they won't be so distracted in the classroom. And I think there've been some research on school districts that are doing that and the impact that it's having on student learning and student engagement. And what they're finding out is more students are more engaged in the classroom when they don't have their cell phones on them. And I think teachers are really excited that student engagement is back in the classroom now, as opposed to students always hearing that ding and getting on their cell phones.
So one of the things, probably back when you and I first got into leadership and started, there was this top-down kind of approach to leadership. And I know certainly the way I was kind of formally trained, like that's how it works. You tell somebody you're in the position, you tell somebody how to do something, they go do it, it gets done, and everything's accomplished. It's really not how leadership works anymore. Not effective leadership. There's still a time and place for top-down leadership. Can you talk a little bit about how you see leadership now with kind of sideways accountability or even bottom up at times?
You know what's interesting about that is I remember um, when I think it was the first time that I had ever um, had to be a part of a leadership team where the leader was top down, and we couldn't make any decisions. We couldn't collaborate. We couldn't offer our opinion because he always said, I'm the leader. I make all the decisions, and I just brought you all in so that you can hear what the decision is. And I remember at that time thinking to myself how ineffective that was, and to come full circle and to watch and to, even as a leader myself, believe in collaborative leadership, believe that if a decision is going to be made, that you bring your team around the table to help you figure out what that decision is and the impact that it would have on the organization as a whole. I think it's extremely important that leaders use their leadership team, that superintendents use their leadership team to help make those informed decisions about what's best for student outcomes.
Sometimes we learn best from people that show the way not to do things, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, I'm always interested to hear your background and talk about your background and where you've been throughout your career. So you've been in large urban communities and organizations there. You've been in small rural communities. What holds true through no matter what organization you're with? What types of traits and characteristics of effective organizations hold through all those?
That's a great question. One is leadership. If you want to change an organization, leaders have to build relationships with not only the people that they're leading, but with the community, with organizations. You cannot grow a school district if you don't do it collaboratively. It takes all hands on deck in order to change the trajectory of a school district. And I believe that you draw more bees with honey. Building those relationships really allow people the opportunity to follow you. People will follow you if they trust you. And I have learned that firsthand, that people don't really care about how much you know until they know how much you care about them as a human being. And people will follow you to the deepest hole if they know that you believe in them and that you trust them to make decisions. So I believe that building relationships um, giving people an opportunity to help you make decisions really helps to move an organization forward.
Yeah, that's powerful. I mean, we talk about relationships being the key to any successful organization, and communication's another piece that's really important to create those relationships, because
Yeah.
that's how you build that trust too. So one of the things I wanted to ask you is you face challenges throughout your life and throughout your career. What's the biggest challenge you faced?
Oh my goodness. Um, I think one of the biggest challenges is when I first became superintendent in Allendale, the idea that I was being asked to change the trajectory of the school district, to change the student outcomes in a school district, helping them to believe that students are capable of learning, and that other leaders in that organization are capable of providing direction for a school district. And the community itself, helping them to believe that they're capable of helping to provide support for even the scholars, the students that's within that school district. Um, and self-belief, I believe that self-belief was the hardest challenge for me uh, as a superintendent in Allendale, is having people to change their mindsets and believe that they could lead, or that they could do it, if you will. When people don't believe in themselves, it's hard for them to lead. When people don't believe that they're capable, or that they're good enough, it's hard for them to move to the next level. And just the idea of trying to change that mindset in a community that had been dormant for so long was just so challenging. But once we broke in, once we helped them to realize, hey, you're good enough. You are enough. That you
So,
if the other school district can do it, you can do it. And just changing the mindset and changing that belief system in them that they are capable of performing was a huge challenge, but we got through that.
so not only did you get through it, you excelled with it. So here's the question. I think you just summed it up incredibly well. That's what it takes to lead and to change the trajectory of an organization or a school district like you did in Allendale, South Carolina. My question is, how were you able to do it?
You know, in order to lead well, you've got to believe that you're able to do it. And my self-belief, I grew up, I had a lot of mentors along the way who really believed in me, who believed that I was capable of leading, and for them to speak into my life, and for them to uh, always reach out to me and say to me, you've got this, you can do this. And because they poured into me, I felt like it was my moral obligation to pour into others, to help others to believe that they're capable and that they're able to lead, that they're able to perform. But that having that confidence and that self-belief, and having that healthy self-belief that I was capable of leading really inspired me to reach back and encourage someone else to do it as well. So because I had a lot of great examples, a lot of great people who helped me along the way. And I just wanted to give back. And also the idea that I've always been purpose driven. I always knew what my why was, what my purpose was when I became superintendent in Allendale. And that was to inspire hope, just help people to believe that there is a brighter day ahead, that there is hope, that they are capable, they can do it.
Margaret, what's interesting is trying to get you to talk about yourself as a leader and you avoid that. I don't know that I've ever heard you talk about Allendale School District without saying we. And I don't know anybody else that works in that district or that lives in that community, but it's clearly how you operate, the humility and the approach you take, that leadership's not about you. It's about everything else and everybody else. And where does that come from for you?
My mom, my mom and dad, my mom and dad just, I'm so grateful for what they taught me growing up. I'm from a family of nine, and my mom always said to us, she said, the only time you look down on a person is when you're picking them up. And she said, and I want you all to do better than what we did. And she said, we are a family, and families support each other. Families help each other. And I just grew up with that mentality that we are here, we're purpose, we're created. God created us for purpose. And you've got to realize, where is your purpose? You've got to figure that piece out. Why are you placed on this earth? And I believe that I was placed on this earth to impact others, to make a difference in the lives of others, to make a difference in the lives of people. And I'm so grateful for that, because I have a passion for taking something that's broken and to make it better, and to improve it and to make it better. And so I just credit that to my mom and my dad, who had such a tremendous impact on my life. And also growing up, those great role models that I had. My seventh grade principal said to me, he said, you're going to be a principal. No, you're going to be a superintendent. And I said, a superintendent? What is that? But he just planting that seed. And that's what I want to do. I want to plant a seed in the life of a leader so that he or she can feel like they're emboldened to lead, empowered to lead, and that they can actually do it. Just make it happen. Just do it. Just do it. So I absolutely love, I'm sorry, I just absolutely have such a great admiration for people who are on the front lines that's leading these school districts. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. But as you know, Phil, what a great opportunity to change the lives of so many.
The problem we have, Margaret, is you have no passion toward that. I love your passion. I love your approach, and I know why there's been success. And if I was a student, I would love to be in your classroom, in your district. So, one last question for you I have. What advice would you have for someone that wants to step into a leader, is thinking about going into a leadership position?
Number one, know what your purpose is. And if you know what your purpose is, know what your passion is. What are you passionate about? If leadership is what you're passionate about, get in there and give it 100%. And have the courage. You've got to have the courage and the stamina to say that I can make a difference. I can make a difference. And if that's your why, if that gets you out of bed every morning to say that I'm going to make a difference, I'm going to impact someone's life, by all means, go into it. But if you're going into it for the money, that's not where it is. If you're going into it because you want to feel important, that's not where it is. But go into it because you feel this calling, this purpose, this passion to change someone's life, to make someone better, to develop leaders, to develop scholars and put them on a trajectory for positive student outcomes. You've got to know that intrinsically it has to come from the heart. Leading is hard. It's hard work and it's heart work. Your heart has to be in it in order to lead and impact lives. If you're going in it to impact lives, by all means, 100% yes. But if that's not your purpose, that's not where you need to go. You have to lead with purpose. You have to lead with courage. You have to lead because you feel that God has called you to this work.
I'm going to try to get some people that I know are struggling in their own leadership to listen to what you just said right there. Because not only for people considering it, I think the advice you just gave is awesome for those people that might be struggling in leadership positions. And most of us struggle in leadership. Leadership is tough. It's not for everybody, and it's not always easy. But
Absolutely.
I think you've shared what it takes to be successful with it, and I appreciate you taking the time to be here with me and joining us on the Leadership Initiative podcast. So, Dr. Margaret Gilmore, thank you for your time, and thanks for being part of this.
Thanks for having me.